Hello, everybody. This is Tim here again. Here another movie review. This time for A Knock at the Cabin, the M Night Shyamalan thriller. Now, as far as M Night Shyamalan goes, I would have to say he's a pretty much a hit or miss director with people. People either really hate him or they really like him. He has his devotee group of fans. I'm more in the middle category. Overall, I would say I do like M Night Shyamalan. I don't love M Night Shyamalan. He's pretty much like a hit or miss director for me, really, to be honest. But for the most part, I think he's been on a winning streak for me lately, at least. I liked Split. Um, I liked The Visit. I didn't love it or didn't really like it. I wasn't over the moon with it. I thought it was all right. Like, I liked it. It was fine. Um, I liked Glass. I did like Glass. Glass kind of divides people. People either really hate it or they like it. I liked it. I was fine with Glass. I enjoyed that one. And Knock at the Cabin, another one, I'll say. I enjoyed it. From 1 to 4 stars, I'd give this a 3 out of 4. I know it's based off of a book, and I know the book has a different ending and with a slightly different climax. The book works for what it's going for, and I think this movie works for what it's going for, which is slightly different because it changes the ending of the book. Pretty much, you got Batista in this, and Rupert Grant, the dude from Harry Potter, who is like Ron Weasley, and you got this black chick who's a nurse, and you got this other girl who I forgot what her occupation was, or she was a cook, and they all show up there to this random cabin out in the middle of the woods, and there was this gay couple there, and they got an adopted daughter, and you learn like some of the backstory and stuff about their life, like through flashbacks and stuff like that. I will say this: the idea for this movie, like the basic setup, it's really intriguing. It's a really interesting idea, and it makes you think about what you would do in this situation. Because basically, Batista and the group show up, and you get the idea, that they're not really trying to hurt the gay couple that's here or whatever. They're just trying to get in there because if they're really trying to hurt them, there's more of them than there are them, and they got weapons. They could have just like barged in and attacked them and killed them. And just the way they're talking about things, you get the idea that there's more going on in the story. So basically, they manage to get them, tie them up. You find out pretty much that one of them has to sacrifice themselves in order to prevent the end of the world because they love each other, and one of them has to kill the other one in a willing sacrifice in order to stop the end of the world. And each time they refuse, one of the 4 people who represent the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, including Batista, have to commit suicide, and it unleashes a new plague each time against humanity. And if they completely refuse, then humanity, the entire rest of the world is doomed, and the earth will be a barren wasteland. But they get to, I'm not for sure what it was, like they get to like roam the earth for either like the rest of eternity or just until they eventually die of old age or something, or their family would or whatever. Or is it for like eternity, like forever? Do they just live on the barren wasteland of the earth forever just by themselves? Like, I'm not really sure. And of course, this is supposed to be biblical, it's supposed to be God, like a version of God or whatever in this story, that's doing this. It's pretty much you get the idea this is a way for him to like judge humanity, like from this gay couple, like is humanity worth saving because of how obviously bad this gay couple's been treated. And the movie doesn't get overly preachy or like trying to be like some kind of like a message movie or anything. It has a message in there, of course, that but it's subtle. It doesn't like overtake the movie or whatever. But of course, treating people, you know, equally right and good and all that, and not homophobic, which is a good message. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is the movie never becomes like overly preachy or anything, and it does it well. And the 2 actors who played the gay couple, whatever, they're good. They're well acted. One of the people though is like more seems like more of a religious person, like more of a believer and stuff. And they never really go into like why that is. You get kind of like you get a moment where they're like in a flashback, like sitting at like the maternity ward, I guess, like waiting to go pick out their adopted child and all that. And of course, they have to lie that the one dude has to lie that his wife is not there because they won't let the gay couple adopt. So he has to claim the other dude is like his wife's brother or whatever, so they can adopt this kid. And the little actress who plays their daughter, whatever, Wynn, I think is how you say the character's name. She does a good job. She does act a little bit too old for her supposed age, but overall, she does a good acting performance, and she should be a good actor in the future when she gets older. But yeah, and he's sitting there like looking at this like picture of Jesus or whatever, and the other dude looks at him like, if you want to pray, it's okay or whatever. So you get the idea that he's like more religious and stuff like that than the other dude is. And the other guy's like more angry and everything, angry at the world and all that because of course how he's been treated and everything. And he sees like everything is like an antagonistic fight towards him because he is gay. He sees like anytime somebody makes trouble with him, he automatically assumes it's probably because he's gay, which 9 times out of 10 probably in real life it is, to be honest. But of course, not every time it is. And so he just automatically assumes that Batista's group and everything are just like homophobes or here to like try to convert him into being straight, force him or something, and later on, of course, when they tell him what they're doing, he starts to assume that they're just like some kind of shared delusions or whatever. I will say this. The thing about M. Night Shyamalan that he's famous for is twists. No matter how absurd the twist is in every one of his movies, he always has some kind of like weird twist like going on in his movie. And that's another one, like the movie Old or whatever. That was another one that kind of divided people. A lot of people didn't like that one. I thought it was fine. It was similar to this one though. It did feel like a kind of like something that should have been a short that was stretched out to a feature-length movie. I'll say that about this movie. This idea, I'm not sure, it probably works better on the page because you can imagine it in your mind, but for the idea they're going for, this probably would have been stronger as just like a short episode of a TV series, of some type of series. I think it would have played stronger like that. But the thing about the twist, though, is there is no twist in this one. It is a start to finish, just a regular movie. There's no twist at all. And I appreciated that. I don't need M. Night Shyamalan to force a twist into every movie he does. I don't need it. I didn't need it here, and I'm glad it wasn't here. It didn't bother me at all. I was fine with that. And honestly, maybe if he stops like forcing twists into a lot of his movies, maybe these movies will play smoother for audiences without these forced twists. At least it did for me. I didn't need it. But they still think that they might be sharing like a paranoid delusion or whatever, a group delusion, because they're all saying that they saw these visions and everything. And you kind of feel sorry for Batista's group because they don't want to be there. And each time they got to kill one of their own or whatever. So of course it gets down to Batista himself. The black chick at the end comes charging or whatever at one of the guys, and he manages to get a gun that he has in his vehicle and has to shoot her with it at the end. And Batista gets the gun. He's the last one to go, and he like slits his own throat. I will say this: the best acting performance in the movie out of the group of Batista's group was Rupert Grint for when he was on screen. He was great. But he gets killed off early. He's the first to go. I think it might have been a mistake to take him out so soon. You could have played with that more, because you find out that he was actually like a dude that picked a bar fight with one of the guys or whatever and like bashed him in the head, and he had to go to the hospital. And so it plays with the idea that maybe he was just a crazy homophobe. It just helped get all these guys together just to come here to target these people. Like, I felt like if they would have kept him around more, they could have played with that idea more. Of like, is this bullshit? Is it real? You could have played with that more with him staying around. His acting was pretty good. But once he's gone, though, Batista gets the most screen time, so he winds up giving the best performance in the group, and he's awesome. He's honestly overall the best performance in the movie, because he gets the most to chew on. Really, you could have made this movie entirely from the group's point of view and just had it be about them, like having shared delusions and all that, or shared visions, and like having to figure out, should they go abduct this couple and force them to do this, like will they do it, what would they do? You could have made this whole movie from their point of view, but the way it's done, though, I think works out fine. And of course, one thing leads to another. We start seeing some plagues unleashed or whatever on TV and all that, in the form of like all the planes going down across the world, or some kind of virus outbreak or whatever, similar to COVID. And of course, one guy starts to be more susceptible to believing it, the more religious one, and the other dude's like, no, it's a crock. Of course, once there's been so many of these incidences, it's like, okay, once is a coincidence. 3 or 4 times, there's something going on. There's something supernatural here. And by the time it gets to the end, it's obvious there is something supernatural going on. And by the time Batista's dead, like, the one dude is like, the more believer dude, he's like, you get like this big speech where it's like, I gotta do this, you gotta take me out, and so we can, help the betterment of mankind and all that. And of course the other dude's like, mankind sucks, they've never done anything for us, why should we save them, they're all ignorant. And it's like, yeah, they're just scared, they got faults, but overall there's goodness in humanity, which obviously there is. Even though most of humanity, they are pretty much jackasses, to be 100% honest. Still though, that few percent though that's good is still or innocent, like children, is still worth saving. So he makes the sacrifice at the end. The other dude has to shoot him, and it's pretty powerful. You do feel sorry. I almost teared up a little bit at the end, I'll admit. It was pretty powerful, well done acting performances. And so the surviving dude or whatever and his daughter, they head out to a diner they stop at this random diner after they're leaving. They take the group's car, Batista's vehicle, and they're heading out. And they stop at this diner and they see that everything is like subsided, and they get into the vehicle and it's playing the song that was like the other dude's like favorite song, which was like Boogie Shoes or whatever by the Casey and the Sunshine Band, I think. and they're like listening to it, and it reminds them of the one they lost, the one they loved, and you kind of get the idea that it's kind of like a sign, like a sign from God or whatever, that everything's gonna be okay, pretty much. You know, which gives the ending kind of a happy feel overall. But yeah, in the way the book ends is they choose their adopted daughter accidentally gets shot and killed, and it doesn't count as a sacrifice because that's being willingly given. So then after the character that Batista would have been in the book or whatever is dead and all that, or the last person is dead, they decide not to sacrifice themselves and just walk the earth, because humanity has been so unloving and unkind towards them, and life in general has been so unkind towards them, especially with the loss of the daughter now, that what's the point in saving humanity just so they can live without each other? Just one of them has to be around without the daughter and everything. It would just be a completely miserable existence. And so it's a much more of a sad, humanity does suck and it does deserve to be doomed type ending. Whereas this is more of a standard, humanity is bad, but there is enough good in it to where it is worth saving type endings. This is more of a standard ending, but I don't think either ending is bad. They both work for the type of story that you would be telling with either one of those endings. And I think both work for what the book and the movie are both going for. They just work in different ways. I don't think either one of those endings are necessarily bad. They both just play differently. I think that the ending of the book, though, probably would have been more powerful because it would have been more unique. Because it's not a type of ending you see a lot in these types of stories. But for the movie, for the ending we did get, it was good. I was fine with it. Overall, 3 out of 4. Good movie. I recommend it. If you're an M. Night Shyamalan fan, you'll probably enjoy it. Overall, I would say I am an M. Night Shyamalan fan. I do like M. Night for the most part. He has made some really shitty stuff, and for a while I was starting to give up hope on the dude. But overall, I would say I like more of his movies than I hate. Like Avatar: The Last Airbender, that was awful. After Earth, that was awful. The Happening is so bad it's good. Those are terrible. Signs, I liked. Sixth Sense, I really liked. Unbreakable, I really liked. Like I said, The Visit, I thought was alright. I liked it as a horror comedy for what it was. This movie, I liked. Glass, I really liked. Split, I really liked. So, yeah, for the most part, I like more of his stuff than I dislike. So I would say I'm a fan of the guy, overall. He's a director I like, but I'm not over the moon for or anything. But yeah, overall, 3 out of 4, good movie. I do recommend it if you're a fan, or if you just like thrillers. I will say this, there are some scenes where where it cuts away from the violence where he didn't really need to. I think it would have been more impactful if it just showed the violence. But yeah, and there is one scene where one of the Rupert Grant gets killed or whatever. You see a little bit of CGI blood out the corner of your eye because the camera kind of pans away from it. You didn't need that CGI blood. Overall, yeah, 3 out of 4. Good, solid thriller. Recommendable. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again.